Good morning. Hi there if you're watching the replay, and good morning if you're watching the live. I'm Maddie Harvey. I'm a knitwear designer and knitting teacher based in Edinburgh, and this is my weekly knits and cake for breakfast video, I call them. So it's a bit of a catch up and a behind the scenes peek, and then I always share either a kind of tutorial, knitting tutorial, or some tips and tricks at the end. So if you're watching the replay, you can have a little look at the description or the caption, and that will tell you how many minutes in to this video the little tutorial is if you want to skip this beginning bit. And these videos are called Knits and Cake for Breakfast because before the pandemic I was hosting a weekly knit night on a Wednesday night that I would always do baking for, and there'd be leftover baking on a Thursday morning, and I would eat a bit of cake for my breakfast on a Thursday. So I have been trying to keep up with that, but this week I've had a no-show on the baking front. I haven't even had time this morning to go to the one of the local bakers here on my way back from the school drop-off, so I am cakeless this morning. I'm going to do some baking tomorrow, so I might post, if you're watching this on the replay fairly soon after I've posted, I will post some photos of my baking in my stories on Instagram and Facebook if you're interested in that. I've got plenty of coffee though, so so today at the end of the video I'm gonna share with you 3 really good project ideas for using up leftover yarn in a creative way. So even if you've got little tiny scraps, I'm going to show you what you can do with them, so stick around for that. So this week I have been doing some knitting that I can't really show you for an upcoming collaboration with somebody, but I have had a bit of a yarn winding party. So yesterday I wound up a lot of skeins. So one thing I can show you is a couple of things that I wound up from Rusty Ferret. So this one was one that Leona dyed for the last spring. Gamer Crafting did a social justice warrior charity fundraiser. That's what I was trying to remember the name of it, and that was one that Leona dyed for that. So I've wound up half of that, and this is a wee bit of Rusty Ferret's another charity fundraiser that was for the Tits Out Collective, which I think was coming out for 3 years ago maybe. So I'm going to use those together with another one of Rusty Ferret's yarns that I just ordered yesterday. Leona she's done an amazing collection of yarns. I think she's calling it the Depression Collection, and she had a pre-order up. So I've ordered one of those to go with, so it's going to be a kind of three colour thing. So I got those organised. I also wound up some Whistlebear yarn. So this is the Cheviot Marsh 4-ply, and this is the Yevering Bell 4-ply. So I'm going to make a bambra shawl with these. So I don't have my original sample. Is currently at Whistlebear's studio, so that was in the sort of navy and this golden orange colour, and I've been meaning to make one for a long time, and actually I am due to teach a workshop, a big day out at Whistlebear on the 4th of July. And what we do there is we have a tour of the farm, which is great fun, and I do a bit of my Choose Colour workshop, which is about a bit of colour theory, and we have a little play around with different colours, and Alice puts out all these little balls of kind of leftover yarn in the middle of the table, and everybody can use some of those different colours to make little swatches, and then we have a gorgeous lunch, and then in the afternoon we all start on our bambra shawls. So I wanted to have another another sample that I could wear to that. So these are the colours that I chose. This one is called Slow Velvet, so slow like a slow plum. And then this one is called Moorland Mist, so it's like a very pale purpley pink. It's probably a bit more pinky than it's coming up there, but it's lovely. And the shawl is a sort of exploration of the two different textures together. So I'm looking forward to casting that on. Oh, and I printed off my pattern. And then, another thing that I've been working on is last week I cast this on because I was just needing something straightforward. My brain couldn't cope with anything too much. So I cast on this version of my sycamore shawl, which I've got the little one here. It's just a top-down triangular shawl, and it's got lace and cables and then lace at the bottom. And it comes in two sizes, so you can do it with 100 grams of 4-ply, which is what this one is. This is Eden Cottage yarns. Or you can do it in double knit and make a bigger one. So I had picked out some of the Jameson and Smith lace weight and the Rico Yarns mohair that I use in a lot of my kits to hold together. And I thought, I'll make the double knit size one. So I'll use the 4.5mm needles, which is what I suggest to use in the pattern. And I started knitting it, and I just wanted to get going. And I got to the start of the lace, and now when I look at it, I think my gauge is not right. I think it's not loose enough. And I think even if I block it, it's still not going to be right, because when I measure it against the small 4-ply version, it's actually, the lace is kind of starting at the same point. Don't know if you'll be able to see that. So I think I'm going to have to rip it out and start again on bigger needles, which is fine because I'd rather it was right. And this sort of served its purpose, like I was just needing something soothing to knit, and that did the job. So I'm going to rip that out, and I don't know what needles I'm going to go with. This is a 4.5. I can't decide whether to go up to 5.5 or maybe even a 6. I'll see. I might have a little swatch and see what I think. I could block this and see, and then measure it and then work it out from there, but I think I might just do a few little swatches and see what happens. So yeah, there you go. Even knitwear designers and knitting teachers pick the wrong needles and don't measure their gauge and have to rip stuff out. So there you are. That's all the stuff that I can show you from behind the scenes at the moment, because as I say, there's a few things that are a wee bit not secret, but it's a surprise for later in the year. So I thought I would share with you some ideas for getting creative with leftovers, and these are all things that you can do even if you've got tiny little bits of leftovers, and they're all based on things that I've made or that I have a passion for. So the first thing is, I've pulled this swatch out to show you. So this is to do a moss stitch, a piece of moss stitch knitting, okay, which is knit one, purl one, and then alternating. And this is done, this is like a fade. So I've gone from yellow through to kind of green and starting to go into blue here. And I have held different strands together. So in here I have got 3 strands of 4-ply that are all various shades of yellow, and then 1 strand that's a lace weight. And I've held them together, and I think I did this on 6mm needles. So this is a swatch from my Choose Colour workshop, which is a workshop I'm looking forward to being able to teach again, because it's really more of an in-person workshop. I don't think it's not the kind of workshop that lends itself to an online class. So 4 strands at the top here, and then what you can do is if you cast on an odd number of stitches and you start each row with a knit one, then you'll get moss stitch coming out. I have kept going, and then I've changed one of the strands. So I think I changed one of them out to a green here, and then knit on a bit further, and then change out another one of the strands, and then another one, and then by the end here I can see I've got a blue strand there, and then 3 greeny ones. So you're just changing out one strand at a time, and that's how you get a sort of fade effect. But you can also just do it, knit until one strand runs out and replace it with something else, and then keep going, and then when another one runs out, replace that with something else, and you'll get a really cool effect. And I think moss stitch works very well, the texture, with that kind of marled yarn. So if you want to, when you come to change colour, I did a video a couple of weeks ago with a few different ways of changing colour without having to weave in ends, and you could use one of those methods, which would mean you had less ends to weave in. And the great thing about moss stitch is it doesn't curl like stocking stitch. You could cast on a certain number of stitches and just keep going and make a big scarf. You could make a nice cowl if you just kept going and then sewed the two ends together. You could make a gorgeous cushion cover. So it's just playing with the yarn that you have, the leftovers that you have, and moss stitch is great for that sort of marled yarn. And also you'll come up with different colour combinations that you hadn't thought of before, which is really cool. So you need to cast on an odd number of stitches and always start with knit one. Oh, I've got some comments here on the live. Kirsty's saying you love the look of moss stitch. It does take quite a long time, but this is on 6mm needles, so it's quite quick. So it's about 4 strands of 4-ply held together. Yeah, Frondlin, it would be a great rug if you made it thick enough. Yeah, and maybe if you put some other fibres in it, it would be really nice. So that's one idea or something you could do with leftovers. Another idea is, this is my free SOS cowl pattern. So this is a free pattern when you sign up to my mailing list, which you can do on my website, maddieharveydesigns.com. And this comes with a couple of different options. So this one, I have used little, I think there were 5 gram scraps of 4-ply yarn or fingering weight with one solid colour that's carried throughout. So you can do it like that, or you can do it completely with little scraps and just change them out as you go. And it's knitted in the round, so it's like a double layer, and then you join it together. Now I can't even find the join on here now. I think it's there. You join it together and so that you can't see the join, so it continues the pattern. So that's another great one, and you could just kind of keep going until, that's a single loop, but you could make a big double loop. So that's called the SOS cowl, and that's a good one for leftovers. And as I say, the pattern has got a couple of different options for how to organize your yarn. And then the third sort of project that's good for leftovers is a knitted necklace. So this is one that I made years ago, using, some of it's yarn held double, but it's basically done at a kind of Aran weight. And this is using t-shirt yarn, and then some short row shaping and things held double, and then a sort of bobble cast off. So this is a great project for little leftovers. It doesn't use very much at all. You could almost do it in, you could do these little stripes in different colours. Here's another one. So playing about, you can do this playing about with the short rows. So that one is a bit wider. It's wider at the bottom there. And this is another shape. This one doesn't have the I-cord at the top, but this one's is a sort of pointier shape. And you get that nice marled effect by holding yarns together, or you can do it with whatever you've got. And you could use that technique of changing something out when one runs out. And it also works really well if you've got any hand spun yarn that you don't know what to do with. This kind of knitted necklace would be great for that. So this is a workshop that I ran on Sunday there, and it was great fun. Lots of people were, I asked everybody to choose what they were going to use beforehand, which yarns, and then there was a lot of chat during the workshop about how what people had chosen when they actually started knitting it. They wanted to swap it for something else, or they discovered new colour combinations. So that's a good one for using up leftovers. And one of the workshop attendees, she had a whole box of hand spun yarn that she didn't really know what to do with, and she was using some of that to do her knitted necklace. And it was great because the sort of, if you've got a yarn that's got little slobby bits or any kind of little kind of thick or thin yarn, it looks really good in this kind of thing. So I'm running another one of these workshops on Sunday the 9th of May, and it's a 90-minute workshop. You get sent the metal clasp, this lobster clasp, which just gives it a real professional finish, and knitted some of the t-shirt yarn to do this foundation cord, and then you get the pattern to make the necklace, which includes some ideas for how to change up the shape and play around with the short rows to make a different shape necklace. So it's really good fun because it's just a small project, you know. So if you start knitting with a certain colour and you don't like that combination, it's easy to rip it out. So if there's a few places left for that workshop, it's at 11 o'clock in the morning on Sunday the 9th of May. So if you did fancy doing that one, you can get to it via my website, maddieharveydesigns.com. And then the last thing I wanted to tell you was I am running my end of the month Instagram virtual knit night tonight between 7 and 8. That's British summertime. If you are around and you see this in time, so today is it's the 29th of April. Today, what I do is I post on my Instagram grid at 7 o'clock, and we can have a chat in the comments, kind of real time chat, and I do that the last Thursday of every month. It's not anything fancy, but it is quite nice to be able to have a chat in the comments and know that if you reply, somebody will reply back there and then, rather than it being the next day. So it is quite a nice chance to have a wee chat, and it's a good chance to find out what people are knitting, discover some new patterns. Last month we had a good chat about retro drinks, like a Jack Daniels and Coke, or what were some of the other ones? We weren't quite onto the vodka and lemonades, but we did have a good chat about retro drinks. So who knows what the topic of conversation will be this evening. But if you can't make it to this one, there'll be another one the last Thursday of every month over on my Instagram grid. Okay, I'll let you get on with the rest of your Thursday, and I will see you soon. Bye.